Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to another edition of Pope Culture, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles. And I'm one of your co-hosts, Carl Kozlowski, and I'm a critic with the Angeles News, the Los Angeles Archdiocesan paper-covering film. And with me, as always, are my co-hosts.
Tanya Yarbrough, who's a Catholic unextraordinary. Really, it's not that exciting in terms of the Catholic end. But I do work with dogs, which is much more interesting and uses a lot of paper towels, unfortunately.
Well...
And I'm Michael Wally, a movie critic along with Carl at Angeles News. And I've been using a lot of paper towels and toilet paper and tissues in the last couple of days, blowing my nose. So I'm a little bit under the weather, but over the moon to be here.
Yes, and just to warn people, just put up with this week. We might be coughing and stuff a little.
We're 3 for 3 being sick.
Yeah.
We're like, so it's really kind of a debate on whether who started it or we just all bring it together with a slight different variation from the three of us. You know, this is like a big old pile on over here.
Our sound wizard can work miracles, but not like
yeah, we've got too many filters coming out of our nasal pharynx there.
So we have a lot of hot topics this week, so to rip it off the idea from The View, I guess, boy. We've got, right off the bat, a whole string of amazing stuff. This week we're dealing with the return of Roseanne, plus OJ and confession, and what that means. A little bit of Stormy Daniels on the same topic. And then also, we're also dealing with the big gun walkout last week, and the march coming up this week in relation to gun policy in America. What does that have to do with Catholics? You'll see. And then also, we are dealing with the phenomenon of the movie I Can Only Imagine, which opened a blockbuster business and is part of a wave of Christian films, and also ending up with a interesting look at Dennis Quaid, who's in that movie, and where he's at in his faith journey. So you're in for a good one here, folks. So this week, the biggest thing I'd say on the pop culture, at least thing that jumped out at me was, and she is something to jump out with, is Roseanne Barr is back with the classic ABC sitcom Roseanne, which ran in the 80s from 88 to 96, actually, and kind of redefined the American family sitcom with really pretty realistic look at like blue collar families that are kind of struggling to get by, and dealt with a lot of controversial issues over the years. And then it went away for about 20 years, has never stopped being popular in reruns, especially on TV Land. I read it's the #1 show on TV Land out of all their reruns. Oh, wow. And so now it's back, and it's the age of Trump, and very interesting things going on. The show's dealing with issues like alcoholism, unemployment, immigration, and then what's known as gender fluidity. We'll get to that a little bit. And also, but mostly it's getting attention because Roseanne is now, in the real life, Roseanne is a tremendous Trump supporter and has gotten some backlash in the press for being so outspoken about it. And in this new show, her character is also a big Trump supporter. And the first episode is like this, from what I read in reviews, it's a battle royale between her and her Hillary loving sister, Jackie. And they just are doing... a whole string of just unbelievably caustic but funny lines about, what kind of person would vote for each of their candidates. And it's in Roseanne's contract that every week there has to be at least one slam on Hillary and or the Democrats, but I think on Hillary specifically. So interesting times. What do you guys think about the comeback?
Well, it's... Right off the bat, it kind of defies logic because usually when there's a show that has a reunion 20 years later, everyone's older and fatter in the cast. But with Roseanne, she lost a lot of weight. She looks really good, and I think John Goodman actually lost some weight too. Yeah. So right off the bat, it's different from most reunions that you see. But yeah, it is interesting. It seems like in culture today, people are craving these kind of reunions of shows that they grew up with. Like you saw it with Fuller House and the Will and Grace reunion, and now you have Roseanne coming back. What I'm interested to see is that Roseanne's style with the kind of studio audience family sitcom, it was very popular in the 90s, and they're partly responsible for how popular it became. That style has become a little bit passé nowadays, and so what I'm interested to see is if they can make this reboot of Roseanne something fresh and new like it was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual to see that family sitcom in front of a live audience. Rita Moreno is actually in a show she's on her second or third season now, but she's in a show from Netflix, and that's I went to one of her tapings. It's all dog connections, but anyway, so I went and she's like, yeah, it's unusual for her because she's been in the business for so long, and she says, yeah, it's a live studio audience, and it's kind of fun as an actress to do that. And they've been doing really well, too. It's just...
Is that one day at a time?
Yeah, it's one day at a time.
Well, that's interesting, because that was a reboot show also that was about average people and dealt with a lot of social issues, because it was a Norman Lear show, and he's like the ultimate producer that brought social issues into TV sitcoms.
And he is back on it.
Yeah, Mr. and they've changed it from a Caucasian family to a Latino family this time.
Yeah, Cuban specifically.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that's kind of like Lucille Ball started this whole live audience thing in the first place with the sitcom, but that it's become the retro style of just filming the whole issue. I don't want to say filming, taping it. No, that's not right. It's digital now. Forget it. But
yeah,
but yeah, it is kind of interesting that's sort of coming back, and because it's extra work for the production company to actually coordinate having an audience there every week.
Well, I mean, but it is true that the trend went a lot to the single cam pre-shot stuff, but Big Bang Theory is the biggest show on television for 10 seasons now, and that's multicam also. And so, I think that it hasn't really died. It's just for some reason everybody thought, we're above it artistically, let's make something that's more filmic. And it's like, meanwhile, the regular folks still ate up shows like Big Bang Theory. And CBS has quite a few of those things. I went to see a taping of Superior Donuts on Tuesday night, and it was their season finale, and got to go to the wrap party, and that's a heck of a cast. It's like Judd Hirsch, Katie Sagal, Maz Jobrani, and
how were the donuts at the party?
Actually, I took a bite of one. It was pretty good, but I mean,
Superior
I really went
donut?
for other. Was it Superior? It was all right. Yeah.
Not for the gluten intolerant. Yeah.
What me and my guest actually had was amazing. Was a waffle cone that was filled with fried chicken tenders that were really good. And like glazed honey with collard greens and mac and cheese.
You got like a little southern roll right there.
Oh,
yeah,
it was amazing.
That was a hand roll from the South.
Oh, yeah. But I digress. But I'm just saying that was like refreshing to see a show that was also multicam. It was a lot of fun, and also I was like, that's kind of inspired by Roseanne in a way, because that show, which I recommend to people also, it's like TV PG, folks, if you're worried about ratings. It's actually a pretty clean show, but it's all these different ethnicities, a black guy, a Jewish guy, a Persian, everything in between, like that, or in a donut shop in the kind of working class northern side of Chicago, in a neighborhood, and how they all clash and say incredibly politically incorrect things to each other. And it's just, it was wild to see, wow, you can still say this or that on TV.
Yeah, Roseanne was kind of like that in the beginning. So that's kind of an interesting, like a little more free flowing on the controversial topics, or just the way they interact with each other. Like you said, real world, sort of gritty, and nobody's getting all offended about it.
Yeah.
So.
And with multicam shows, it's not that they can't be funny. It's just that in recent times, a lot of times they're not, because they're intent on getting the laugh from the studio audience, they'll go for the low-hanging fruit, and they'll go for the easy laugh.
Right.
But if your material is actually funny, then it doesn't matter if it's multi-camera, one camera, no camera. As long as it's funny, you're good to go.
Well, the beauty of Superior Donuts was that they have such an incredible cast of really veteran actors and comics that they do. It's a very long taping. Like, I go to the ranch a lot. A friend, which is a Netflix sitcom with Ashton Kutcher, that I also recommend to people. I should actually get into that a little more in a second. But a friend of mine is a warm-up comic for both shows, like keeping the audience entertained during the pauses. And the ranch is done in like 2.5, 3 hours. That's what most sitcoms are like. But Superior Donuts goes like 4.5 hours to keep you there. And the reason why, other than an insanely long, hour-long lunch break, for some reason, they work an hour, then they're eating dinner for an hour. But they do a lot of improv. a lot. Like they do a couple takes of how it's written, and then they're just trying to crack each other up. And that's what was so amazing about it, was it had that anarchic spirit that you see on Saturday Night Live sometimes, where everybody's pushing each other, to see what they can shock them the most into laughing at.
Yeah, and by the way, did you guys happen to catch the most recent SNL with Bill Hader?
Oh, that was an awesome, the wheelchair scene.
Oh god, that was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time.
I don't think we can describe it much more, but
right, yeah,
yeah, it's a little raw, but it was incredible. Cast laughing, trying not to laugh. Oh my gosh, and so yeah, really good. But Roseanne, I think it'll be interesting to see if it catches the zeitgeist and. I think it could be. I wouldn't be surprised if it could be number one right away again. I don't know. At least out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I'm interested with this being her contract in having an agenda of kind of bashing Hillary Clinton too, because I personally I don't like Trump in the slightest. I think he's exhausting. But I don't think that Hillary Clinton is Mother Teresa necessarily either. And I think culture's become so anti-Trump that you never hear the other side of it at all.
Yeah.
And so maybe that could be an interesting thing to kind of hear the other side of it in a popular show.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be interesting because I'm all like I said, I'm delighted almost always to when somebody has the guts, even if it's something I disagree with, to take a stand on something that is unpopular, perhaps, or unapproved by the elites of media or whatever. Yeah,
because Donald Trump, for the most part, I think he deserves it, but he is the easy target right now, and he's the popular target for people to go after right now. And so when you take the other side of it, it is kind of the more daring side in a way.
Yeah. But then also the other.
Well, you mentioned gender fluidity.
Oh yeah, gender fluidity.
You wanted
to
talk about that. Yeah. What was it that you witnessed? You witnessed one of the kids in the.
Well, I read about this. That there's a 9-year-old kid, a boy in the show that's a kid of one of Roseanne's kids, and he dresses like a girl.
Grandchild for the rest of you people. Huh? Grandchild for the rest of you people.
Yeah. And so, I got confused with all the gender fluidity of it all. But gender fluidity is not actually fluid, so don't worry. But the thing is, it's that you can feel like a boy can feel like a girl can feel like a boy, supposedly. And so the thing is that this boy dresses in either dresses or very feminine, obviously girl clothing, and so it'll be interesting to see if that ruins it for people in the red states or not. But it'll be interesting to see if they take it all in. Roseanne survived doing a gay kiss with Mariel Hemingway in one famous episode, things like that, and it still stayed popular. But this one, they said that it's not that the kid is portrayed as gay or that he's trying to change his gender. It's just that some kids now supposedly like to dress up as the opposite gender, and some particularly lenient parents allow it. And Tanya, you said you noticed some aspects of that going on in LA, right?
Yeah, I mean, without making one judgment or the other, the reality is that I've noticed that, particularly in more affluent communities in Los Angeles, I've seen parents go out of their way to offer the opportunity for the kids to play with opposite gender styled toys, and also to dress differently. Like they'll have their little combat boots, and they'll have their regular pants, and they'll have a skirt over the top of it. I'm talking about the boys. So it's kind of become in vogue in a sense to have that, allow that to happen. Whether they're pushing it or not, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just become, you educate your child very early with, Bach and Beethoven at age 3, so they become geniuses. This has become the newest, from what I've observed, this has become the newest sort of gifted child fad to try to open the doors to this. And
what does it have to do with being gifted, though? I'm not arguing with you.
That's the thing. It's there's always these different sort of. I want my child to be advanced and not hinder their creativity. Oh. So it goes on that level a lot of times, as opposed to trying to pick out, there's the other extreme where they're going, well, I didn't want to put a gender on the birth certificate because blah, blah.